The first excerpt is a child's or adult's linguistic performance made the consequence of many levels of simultaneous neural interconnections rather than a serial process of one rule being applied, then another, and so forth. This excerpt is taken by First Language Acquisition Principle of Language Learning and Teaching by Douglas Brown. The second excerpt is, as children grow older, they become more aware of themselves, more self-conscious as they seek both to define and to understand their self-identity. In pre-adolescence, children develop a quick consciousness of themselves as separate and identifiable entities by one which there is still wavering insecurity need protection. They therefore develop inhibitions about this self-identity, fearing to expose too much self-doubt. At puberty, these inhibitions are hidden in the trauma of the undergoing critical physical connecting and emotional change. This excerpt is taken Age and Acquisition Principle of Language Learning and Teaching by Douglas Brown. The third excerpt is the link between Broca's area and the motor area was later shown to be the nerve fibers of the arcuate fasciculus. The speech production process will begin in Broca's area, pass on through the arcuate fasciculus to the motor area, and from there to articulators of speech for vocalization. This excerpt is taken Language at the Brain and Introduction to Psycholinguistics by Danny Steinberg and Natalia Chiarini.
The fourth excerpt is most discussions about age and acquisition center on the question of whether there is a critical period for language acquisition, a biologically determined period of life when language can be acquired more easily and beyond which time language is increasingly difficult to acquire. The critical period hypothesis claims that there is such a biological timetable. Initially, the notion of a critical period was connected only to first language acquisition. This excerpt is taken by Age and Acquisition, Principle of Language Learning and Teaching by Douglas Brown. The fifth excerpt is dos aspectos del aprendizaje escolar que involucran directamente el procesamiento del lenguaje se refieren, el primero a la diferencia de género en el uso del lenguaje y el segundo a las ventajas y desventajas del aprendizaje de una lengua extranjera simultáneamente con el desarrollo del lenguaje nativo. En el caso de las diferencias de género, los resultados de la investigación indican que existen diferencias de procesamiento del lenguaje entre niños y niñas. This excerpt is taken by el aprendizaje del lenguaje, la lectura y la escritura by Humberto Caicedo López. The sixth excerpt is this condition creates a lack of social interaction and early communicative bonding. The autistic infant quickly lags behind in achieving the natural milestones of speech production, and within a year or two the significance of the disease becomes conspicuous. This fundamental inability to bond with people, coupled with the linguistic consequences of this constraint, creates a behavioral pathology severe enough to be labeled as psychosis. In fact, autism is often referred to as childhood schizophrenia. This excerpt is taken by Dissolution Language Loss by Thomas Scoville.
Created using Powtoon.